know, people eat a lot of muscle from the animal, but they don't consume the rest of the animal. They're eating a lot of meat from chicken or beef, lamb, pork, etc. And the problem with that is that the muscle is very high in methionine, which is an amino acid. Bone broth will give you glycine and a different profile of amino acids. So at least doing bone broth, you're getting another part of the animal. But I also recommend consuming some of the organ meats as well. Liver is the easiest to consume. You don't need to consume much of it, but at least you're getting more of the whole animal. And when you're consuming more bone broth, you're getting more glycine. And that potentially could help your sleep, your blood sugars, and build up your neurotransmitters. Bone broth also is good to support your gut and joint health.
Bone broth is often touted as the elixir of life. Is it really? Why do some people react negatively to bone broth? Let's uncover the mystery in this video. Let's have a little chat while I make bone broth. I finally got the chance to load up on beef bones. I've tried drinking gelatin as you've seen in the previous video. It's time to upgrade to the real deal. That's grass-fed beef bones with a leftover carcass of pastured duck from a previous batch of slow-cooked duck broth. It's fine to mix them up. The combination adds a depth of flavor. That's what's left of the duck broth. It tastes like chicken broth but with a gamey kick to it. That bone marrow though. A moment of silence please for this tantalizing bone marrow. Truly the fat of the gods. I decided not to include it in the broth. Bone marrow doesn't need cooking. Unlike cartilage, ligament, tendon, connective tissue, and other chewy bits that need to be slow cooked. Bone marrow actually tastes better raw. Oxidized fat can be nauseating, whereas raw fat is refreshing, easier to digest, and feels lighter in the stomach. I'm setting aside this glorious bone marrow for my OMAD meal later. Of course, I'll eat it raw. This type of marrow is from the cow's lower leg, which is naturally spongy and creamy. Bone broth contains important minerals that the body can easily absorb. Did you know that drugs that are used to treat inflammation, arthritis, and joint pain contain compounds that are found in bone broth?
What's going on? I'm going to show you guys a zero carb, my day of eating. I wanted to use this more as an opportunity to discuss my dietary adventures over the past, few weeks now. And first I'll show you guys what I'm having today. So I have some raw clarified butter unsalted. And this is just some Australian ribeye that I seared on my grill. I cooked it blue. It's raw on the inside. No salt on it, no seasoning, no nothing. Just cooked over fire. So the past few days I've been eating lamb chops, mostly with bone marrow. And before yesterday, I was having a lot of salt most of those days. And the meal, for about 2 weeks, those were my meals. I'd have like a pound or two of lamb chops and some bone marrow with it. That was my meal for about the past 2 weeks. A lot of salt, lamb, like loins with bone marrow, and then I was taking potassium, magnesium supplements. And guys, I had the worst insomnia of my life over the past few weeks.
While it's plausible that the carnivore diet is our evolutionary diet, our early ancestors could not have eaten steak all the time. It makes more sense that they ate the entire animal nose to tail. It's only practical and logical that they ate meat on the bone and cracked the bone for the marrow. Eating only muscle meat is not only unnatural and wasteful. Eating only steak can accelerate aging due to too much methionine and not enough glycine from collagen to balance it out.
I'm going to give you guys an update on what I've been eating on the carnivore diet. Nice big piece, you could slap this whole thing on the grill. Plate from earlier, boys. We have that strip loin that we didn't finish. And just a little piece of the flank.
Bone broth. It's getting a little cool out there. My joints are, I'm wanting to get a little bit stronger too, and there are a myriad of benefits for the digestive health. I can go on and on, but you could also use Google. So we got some meaty beef bones here, some oxtail here. And then we also have a lot of these bones here, boy. And there's a lot of all that cartilage and fat and marrow and collagen and gelatin, all these wonderful things. Now all these bones come from grass-fed organic cows, from a local farm. We're a part of a co-op that allows us to get access to some really high quality meats, and particularly, you know, the type of things you can't get at the supermarket, like bones and oxtail and things like that. Usually can't get too easily. That's an oxtail right there, y'all. We'll get it cooking, but because it cooks between 12 and 24 hours, it's really important. That's the key, is the slow cooking in order to pull out all of the wonderful nutrients. 2 ribs, 1 rib, 2 rib. Cooked real slow all night last night. It's really oily, which is incredible. That's where all the vitamins and nutrients are. Here you got some carrots. Again, you can see how the bone has been broken down from slow cooking overnight. A lot of the nutrients in there. Man, this is the way our ancestors used to eat. They didn't waste anything, any part of the animal. They really honored the process. And if you haven't studied the work of Weston A. Price, who was a doctor and a scientist in the 1930s, he actually began to discover that his patients were coming in, children were coming in with a brand new anomaly that just started in the 1930s, like post-World War II. He had been a doctor for decades and hadn't noticed that the palates, the jaw of the young people were shortening and their teeth were crowding. So those of you who've had braces, or most of us know people who have braces, my children wear braces. This was something that was uncommon prior to the industrialization of food. And he attributed it to 2 factors. Number 1, the fact that we're eating way more processed foods. And so we all know that that's, the negative effects of eating the processed foods that came post-World War II. But number 2, which was much more important and much more part of the reason why we were having these developmental inadequacies, was because of the lack of vitamin A and D and what he called the X factor within our foods. And these nutrients are only found in animals like meat, but most particular, not just the muscle meats, but the organ meats, the bones, a lot of which we can get from making stock like this. So human beings, and I invite anybody who wants to, who feels uncomfortable with what I'm saying, especially those of you guys who are against eating meat, to do some research also too. Look into Dr. Weston A. Price. His book, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, is a must-have for anybody who's interested in health. Highly, highly suggest it. And one of the things he discovered in his scientific research, where he traveled the world in order to study indigenous tribes, people who hadn't been affected by commerce foods and who were still eating their traditional diets, was that across the board, no matter what, all of the people had very much honored the need for animal fats in the diets of pregnant and nursing women and babies for the development of their brain. And it goes on and on and on, but I just wanted to throw that out there to you guys so you should know that this is a thoughtful approach to nutrition. I know a lot of vegans and vegetarians, you guys are very thoughtful about what you're doing, and I honor that, but meat eating also very thoughtful about it, and there's very good reason for it. It's not just one of these, ego ideas. So there you have it. If you look in there, you'll see like the oil. It's like, yeah, look at this from the separation there. Boom. So you've got collagen, you've got gelatin, you've got fat-soluble vitamin A and D, vitamin K, which was what Price called the X factor because he didn't understand it yet. And these are all great things for the brain, the bones, the joints, the digestive system. Well, there you have it, folks.
Bone broth is the richest natural source of collagen. Collagen is found in animal bones, cow hooves, pork knuckles, chicken feet, connective tissue, tendon, ligament, cartilage, tail, or skin of cattle, hogs, fish, birds, and other animals. These collagen-rich parts of the animal are impossible to chew and difficult to eat in their raw state. The only way to enjoy them is by slow cooking them in plain water or other liquid at the lowest possible temperature over a long period of time, ranging from 4 to 24 hours, depending on how rich you like your broth to be. After 24 hours, the bones turn into bone meal that crumbles in your hand. If you're lactose intolerant and you want to increase your calcium intake, you can opt for bone meal instead of dairy. If you must snack, bone broth is a good snack option that will not sabotage weight loss if that's your goal. Some people even sip on bone broth all day when fasting for weight loss or therapeutic reasons. A warm cup of bone broth or a cold serving of broth jello takes away hunger instantly, without taxing the digestive system or significantly stopping autophagy. After a few hours in the fridge, it has gelled into a jiggly jello. It's so good. It tastes like a savory jello. Minus the sugar, of course, or sugar substitute. It's so nice. I love it. I'm going to take another cup of bone broth. I'm starting to get addicted to this stuff. It's so warm. Sometimes it's just nice to have something warm to sip on.
Over half the population is deficient in magnesium. I would say that most people have a problem with magnesium and potassium. They have actually too much calcium. So if you have too much calcium, you can deplete your magnesium reserves. Most of the magnesium is stored in the bone, believe it or not, and you need magnesium to make strong bones.
This is a crock of bones, and the bones, after I scrape all the meat off of them, I'll put them in the crock pot with vinegar and water and set it on low for about 3 or 4 days until the bone starts to dissolve, and then I eat the whole bone to get all my minerals. So bones, they not only include calcium, but they have magnesium and phosphorus, potassium, all the trace minerals that your body needs to produce its own bone. I think this is what's missing in a lot of people's diets. People who try to go primal or ketogenic, they just don't get enough of these minerals. And the only way to do it really is to get the whole bone.
In this video, we're going to talk about the top magnesium foods, okay? All the leafy greens, in fact, any green vegetable, because at the heart of chlorophyll, which is the blood of the plant, it's that green fluid, you have magnesium as the mineral. Whereas in our blood, we have iron that makes it red. So when people have low stomach acids because they have heartburn, believe it or not, they're going to have low stomach acid. That's what's causing the valve not to close. Or they're on Tums or antacids, they're not going to be able to absorb magnesium because you need an acidic stomach. Also, if you are not consuming enough vegetables, chances are you're going to be magnesium deficient. Now, magnesium will improve high blood pressure, it decreases stress, it improves the quality of sleep, it helps with cramping, especially in the lower calves or the feet. And yes, you can get your magnesium from a supplement, but what's better is if you consume it from the vegetables, because that way you'll get all of the minerals in the right ratios.
Yeah, I try to eat at least one vegan meal every week.
Exposed vegan.
That ruins my reputation.
Damn, man, you look pretty strong. You don't even work out?
It's all the salad. I don't work out. I work for a living.
But mainly it's involved with muscle physiology and neurophysiology. It activates certain enzymes in the body. It's involved in energy production. So if you're fatigued, it could be that you're magnesium deficient.
Our foods right now are deficient in just about everything. And humans are used to feeling like crap every day. Everyone needs a cup of coffee to get up in the morning. They're not thinking about a magnesium and vitamin D deficiency. And that decline in soil quality doesn't apply to just magnesium. Most people are deficient in just about any mineral, copper being another notable one to point out, possibly selenium. So now we have both plant and animal foods that don't contain adequate amounts of minerals because of our poor growing practices. You know, in our past, wild quality animal and plant foods were so much more nutritious that we didn't really have to consume as many calories to get as many nutrients. And the problem is caloric energy actually stresses the body's need for minerals and certain things like B vitamins. So, you know, it's a double-edged sword. You have to eat more food to get more nutrients, but eating more food stresses your body's nutrients. So it's tough. So we have diets high in calcium, foods lacking magnesium, and pollution concerns with promising foods. On top of all of this, our highly inflammatory modern lifestyles increase the body's need for magnesium. You know, are you consuming a lot of highly processed inflammatory foods? Depletes your magnesium stores. Are you in a high Wi-Fi, high radiation environment constantly? That disrupts calcium channels, which greatly depend on magnesium for regulation. The poor sleep, stress, and anxiety, typically from high radiation environments, also causes the body to use up magnesium. Did that high stress environment from the Wi-Fi give you SIBO, candida, leaky gut, dysbiosis? Now you can't even absorb the little magnesium that is in your diet. Are you staying inside all day and not getting enough sun? Calcium needs vitamin D to be metabolized, and high calcium from sedentary indoor activity increases the magnesium demand as it's a direct antagonist. And since magnesium is an electrolyte mineral, the body can excrete it much easier. So during heavy exercise or sweating, you deplete stores fairly quickly, and then you have all of these nutrition experts pushing electrolyte supplements which don't contain adequate magnesium or the correct form, let alone proper ratios of electrolyte minerals. And most of them even have calcium in the supplement, which effectively cancels out the magnesium.
Brad, welcome.
Thank you, Teya, for having me.
Pleasure. So let's get straight into it. What led you to reach out to me and make adjustments to your diet?
Well, so I started the carnivore diet about 3.5 years ago, and finally about 2 months ago, I started peeing kidney stones. They were uric acid stones. I had them checked out, and they're 100% uric acid. It's not just some, oxalate detox that people might think. And also, I realized that, after 3.5 years, my digestion is still shaky. My dandruff is still there, and I'm just not, 100%. So I decided that it's time to, look into different avenues and maybe optimize my carnivore diet.
So we did your hair test recently, and from a conversation on Facebook, you were quite surprised.
Yes, pretty much all my minerals were down below normal, very low, I would say. And yeah, I didn't have a good balance, and you could see it on the test, and you're just like, okay, now I know what's going on. So
what was the biggest aha from seeing your hair test and then following my recommendations from there?
The biggest aha moment was that we are not designed, many of us are not designed to just eat meat. We need to alkalize the body as well. We need to basically change our minerals and make sure that they're in balance now, and by adding other foods.
Yes. And so what 3 benefits are you experiencing now as a result of making these adjustments?
Well, the first benefit is I don't have any more kidney stones. So that's great. The second benefit is my kidney stopped twitching. I had twitching over there, and I had even sharp pains as well. So that scared me quite a bit, actually. And also I started having also more energy, and I woke up like from the sugar. Like I had some sugar finally that I haven't had in 3.5 years, and it just woke me up. So that's a big one as well.
Yes, on the carnivore, people talk about carbs being evil, sugar being addictive. What they don't realize is that your liver needs some carbohydrates to convert steroid hormones to convert cholesterol to steroid hormones. And steroid hormones is what we all want more of. We want more testosterone for men. We want more progesterone for women, DHEA for adrenals. We want that because it keeps us lean and keen. And so carbohydrates are important in that conversion.
Absolutely. I'm seeing that now. I'm seeing that you need carbs because like I did not have energy a lot. I used to almost fall asleep behind the wheel all the time on the carnivore diet, and it's not normal, obviously. But because I was having such amazing, health, like mental health benefits, that I would rather not have a liver than because it could be debilitating, but now I'm realizing I can have both. I can still have the carnivore benefits and just lower the meat intake and add some things and balance it out for sure. Yeah.
That's right. It's all about individuality. And I love meat. I thrive on meat. But you don't want to be eating that all day, every day, because your blood is going to become acidic. And when your blood becomes acidic, your kidneys work very hard to buffer it. And they need minerals. They need sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium. These are the minerals that carnivores tend to have low, even if they supplement. Why? Because you need some carbs to absorb them and to utilize them.
Right.
So you run a group of 700 people.
Correct.
So so what message do you have for people, carnivores, who are having issues, who are struggling, and they don't know what to do?
Well, first of all, you need to realize that your philosophy could be killing you, and if you're in these groups, and it's so easy to be a part of something and to go against even how you feel. You might even just psychologically, it's like a placebo almost. You might make yourself feel so amazing, but really your body is deteriorating on the inside. So you have to kind of look, you have to be a little bit more objective, get away from all the dogma, and really just start thinking about it differently, so you can be more objective, so you can look at things. You can always go back to the carnivore diet. You already know what that is like. It's good to seek out other possibilities and look into them for sure.
Absolutely. So you've just started this, so you do have a healing journey ahead of you. It's not like a straight line. There are ups and downs, and how do you navigate them? If you haven't been eating bananas or drinking celery juice for 3 years and you have it the first time, it can be a problem, but it might not. So when you started having green juices, how did you feel?
Amazing. And I couldn't stop drinking it. I remember the very first 3 or 4 days that I was drinking it, it was just like, my body, I couldn't stop, but I didn't overdo it either, of course, because I couldn't. And then I even added, another 250 mils in the evening, and great. It just woke me up. It made me feel better, and it like there was something calming about my body that I felt immediately from it. So, and like I said, my kidney stopped twitching after about 2 days or 2.5 days of doing this juice. So,
well, that was very courageous of you.
yeah, you have to do what you got to do. It's all about results. It's all about being true to yourself, true to the people that you working with. Everybody, it's not about doing something and then putting on a front or pretending. It's not. It was never about that for me ever from the beginning.
Yeah.
Did things, but I was very into trying the raw, because I never really gave it 100%, and I thought raw sounds so much better. It's got to work. It's got to be the right way to go. And at first, it did make me feel better, than cooked meat. But the biggest mistake that I made is that I thought that what I was seeing coming out of me is detox. And so when I went raw, I saw more of what I thought was detox. So and now, after I've added the carbs, I've added the juices, I've added some things, and I lowered the meat intake, I realized that it was no detox. It was just me not digesting food properly. So
yes,
that is huge.
The cliche detox. If something's not working, must be detox.
Right. I fooled myself good on that one, and that really led me. I literally wasted 1.5 years of eating a raw diet because I thought I was detoxing.
Exactly. Oh, you're going to help so many people. This is wonderful.
I hope so.
So thank you, and we'll touch base again soon for more of your progress.
Thank you, Teya. Thank you for having me.
As with everything I tell people, if it doesn't work, then move on or find something else. You're supposed to feel a difference with most things you apply to your health.